in 2016, I transitioned from male to female when I was working with Amazon in Seattle. Frankly, it was a cakewalk. To be honest, I was, how do I say, disappointed with the almost dramaless reception of my transition. This movie is not for the LGBTQ community. This movie is not for transgender people. This movie is for everybody else to understand the life of a trans person. My brother's friend came running after us, and he told my brother, not to me, but my brother, hey, my mother wants my kid to be blessed by your sister. Is it okay? And all that. I was like, no, I was not going to do that, because I understand why they want that to be done, because they see me as a trans woman who is separate from a woman, and as if I have some kind of power to do anything, when in reality, I'm just a woman trying to exist and have fun in the way that I'm doing.
Hello everyone, welcome to Showsha. This is Kirubhakar. Today with us we have a special guest, Samyuktha Vijayan, the director of Neela Nira Sooriyan. Hi Samyuktha. I watched the film.
Hello.
I really liked it.
Thank you so much.
Before going into the film, I just wanted to know about yourself. So
Okay.
Can you just give us a brief intro about?
Sure. I was born as one of three boys in a small town called Pollachi in South India. My parents never ever told me, you're a boy, you cannot do this.
Okay.
Right? So I grew up in a very supportive, understanding family. All they would say is, as long as you're happy, you are free to do anything you want. In fact, it was my mother who put me in a dance school, a Bharatanatyam dance school, which turned out to be the safe space for exploring everything I wanted to. I can be anyone I wanted to be, because dance was that refuge of sorts. Because I had such a wonderful atmosphere as I grew up, the general identity crisis that you see transgender people go through was not that important to me. Because as I said, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to. In fact, my mother and I would fight about which color lipstick that we should buy. And think about in a household in Pollachi, three boys, and the mother talking about which lipstick should we buy, because she is like, we'll only get red, and I'm like, no, I want one for each color costume that I have and all that, right? And as I grew up, I was able to focus on my studies. I was second in my district. I graduated from PhD Tech with an engineering degree. I joined Amazon, and I spent 10 years at Amazon in Europe, the US, and in India. Now, that was my exposure towards how welcoming an understanding and supportive community could be, especially if you are from the LGBTQ community. And it pushed me, inspired me to just go ahead and do, the transition. So in 2016, I transitioned from male to female when I was working with Amazon in Seattle. Frankly, it was a cakewalk. To be honest, I was, how do I say, disappointed with the almost dramaless reception of my transition, that I'd actually written a speech about, how it is my right to be whoever I wanted to be, and I never got an opportunity to read that speech to anybody so far. So that's very interesting. But I know that is not how anybody else's experience would be, especially the transition piece, right? It will be much more difficult even in cities like Chennai or Bangalore. And think about a small town like Pollachi, which is where I come from. And when I decided to fill the gap of transgender representation in Tamil cinema or even in Indian cinema, I thought, okay, I'm going to set the story in Pollachi, a high school teacher wanting to transition from male to female, and everything that ensues is the movie, right? So I think this is brief enough to tell your audience who I am and what I'm trying to do.
I particularly like the tone of the film. which is not a tearjerker. Was that a conscious decision?
It was, because at the end of the day, if a product like this does not reach a wider audience, which is who the movie is aimed at. This movie is not for the LGBTQ community. This movie is not for transgender people. This movie is for everybody else to understand the life of a trans person, so that when such people come into the mainstream context, as a neighbor, as a friend, as a teacher to your kid, you will know how to react to something like that. You'll probably, there are some do's and don'ts, there are some interesting things you could ask and you cannot ask. So in a more fun way, if I'd made it with a lot of self-pity and consciousness, and if I'd made it very serious, I think the intended audience would find the movie maybe even repulsive, because again, we are looking at audience who are enjoying and who are now accustomed to more reels like stuff where the attention span is very less, and all they want is just a mere entertainment, and discerning audience are dwindling by the day. So yes, it was a very conscious decision to make the movie in a matter-of-fact manner, rather than, crying at the top of my voice that this is my place and I demand my rights. It's more of a, hey, there are people who are different from you, and all they're trying to do is just live their lives and continue their existence with some dignity. And as long as you have a little bit of consideration and understanding and respect for somebody who is not you, that is all is required for them to coexist.
There is a scene in the film where Banu is asked to touch the head of the child and wish her because she's a transgender person. Have you experienced similar things in real life?
You won't believe. So my brother and I, we were going to invite his friend for opening of our music studio. So we have a music studio in Pollachi. And so we went there, we gave the invitation, that person's mother was there, and everything was cordial and nice and all, and we were leaving. When I just left, and that fellow, my brother's friend, came running after us, and he told my brother, not to me, but my brother, hey, my mother wants my kid to be blessed by your sister. Is it okay? And all that. I was like, no, I was not going to do that, because I understand why they want that to be done, because they see me as a trans woman who is separate from a woman, and as if I have some kind of power to do anything, when in reality I'm just a woman trying to exist and have fun in the way that I'm doing. And I find such things in some sense derogatory, simply because that they think that I'm special one way or the other. Either this is a person that we should isolate, or this is a person, oh my God, kind of. I'm neither of this special person simply because of my birth or my existence. I could be a special person because I'm your friend. I could be a special person because I'm a director, I'm a creative person. It is none of those aspects that they know or understand. If in that sense, for example, if there is a person who wants to venture into a creative industry, and he comes and he tells me, I'd like to take your blessing because I've seen your movie and I think you are a wonderful filmmaker and I really like to get your blessing, which is what I did when I met Bharati Raja sir, right? So I had the distinct opportunity of talking to him, and he saw my trailer and he was very interested. Given the extraordinary filmmaker he is, I touched his feet and I said, I would like your blessings. Now that is a completely different thing, right? But that is not the intention of what they were trying to do. They were trying to see me simply for my birth as one person in my transition, which I do not agree. There is nothing special about me just by way of my birth.
It is kind of an irony, right? Like we either oppress or suppress
Yes.
something, or we just worship it.
Yeah, or put people on a pedestal.
Yeah, we never see someone for what they are.
What they are. And the problem with reinforcing such stereotypes is how they do it for women too. In India, everybody says, "Oh, we respect women. We pray to women because they are goddesses. We put them on a pedestal. We worship them and all." The context is again putting them in a box that they can't easily get out of. Then they use the same argument to say, you are a person that we worship and you cannot put sleeveless because you are a worshipable person, so you can't do certain things. You can't do. So the moment they tell you they are putting you in that box, it comes with restrictions. Now let us say this person asks for my blessings for their child simply because I'm a trans person, and let us say I do that, and then they later see me doing an item dance in a movie. The same set of people are going to criticize my choice, saying, "Is this the person that I got blessings from? Right? Who asked you to get my blessings in the first place? Do not put me on a pedestal and then don't criticize that I did an item dance and they are like, I'm not worthy of worship. Who asked you to worship in the first place?" Which is why I don't like such practices.
Right. Coming back to the film, when and how did the whole project came about?
So initially, Malamani Madam, who is our producer, came to me with a script done by a different director. She had seen me in one of my interviews earlier, and she really liked for me to be part of the project. She wanted me to be the lead role, wanted me to do the lead role because the movie is about a transgender person. I wasn't convinced with the director's script because it comes from the angle of a third person who had absolutely no experience with a trans person's journey. And I did not think it captured all the nuances and the subtleties of the existence of somebody like me. And so she was very clear I would be the lead of a movie about a trans person that she is going to produce. But in that particular at that particular time, I didn't like the script. And then we had stopped discussions about that. I had moved to Seoul, South Korea. This was in 2020. And when I was completely isolated, I was like, okay, she had put that thought in me that I could be an actress. So I thought, okay, let me attempt writing my own story because it looks like nobody is going to attempt, doing that. Sorry. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to write stories, how to write a script, etc., etc. It took me about 2 years to actually write something that is worthy of filming. Post that, I decided to co-produce the movie. So the agreement was I'll first produce it and give it to her, and then she'll take care of everything else. That was the agreement. So we did that, and then though I was going to initially act in the movie, later when I started writing and directing, I thought maybe I should give it to somebody else because it's just too much, work for one person to handle. I was trying to get somebody. It was getting difficult because in the movie, the person is a man in the first half and the person is a woman in the second half. And I wanted somebody to be able to convincingly portray both the roles so that people don't think it is just a fancy dress stuff where a woman is like coming as a man. Because most transgender people at the time that I had reached out to, they'd already completely transitioned. They had like hair like this, which was the case with me too. I had hair up to this length and I had to cut my hair, kind of go back, unlearn everything I had learned to become a woman, go back to being that man. We did a photo shoot. People liked, which is what you see in the posters. People liked that the way I looked, and I was also convinced that at least from the look wise, I'm able to portray the role that I was envisioning. But then as you go through the production, the filming and all, it was difficult. It was difficult to do both the roles. I was also, emotionally, it was an emotional roller coaster for me to do the male role in the morning and the female role in the evening and shoot with all of those. I think that was the hardest part with the whole shoot. We did the movie in 23 days because all I had was 3 weeks off and I had to finish the movie. Thankfully, I had a really good cast and crew who were very supportive, so everything came about wonderfully. But then, yeah, that is what I would say was the hardest part.
You said it was rather easy to go through this whole transition. Even Arvind has it easy because he's coming from a privileged family and he's the sole provider of the family even. But do you think it is hard for people who are coming from I would say, a difficult background?
I would not reject the fight of anybody that is wanting to transition
Right.
as hard or easy or anything, because at the end of the day, they have to fight a lot of internal struggles to actually go ahead and take that decision. Yes, externally, their struggle could be different depending upon their circumstances, depending upon their social and financial status. That I agree. But the internal struggle is exactly the same. There is no difference. Consistently, the transition and the isolation of transgender people has been shown in multiple movies with varying degrees of success. But a transgender person existing in a mainstream context as a functioning male prior and then as a full female post, it has not been explored previously in India. I've not. Even in some of the world movies, you see, they also have usually an isolated context, not in the mainstream. It's it's very rare. Even if that had come, it was not done by trans persons themselves, right? So I believe in that sense, I wanted this to be a unique attempt, and I think it has turned out to be one.
Was it a conscious decision to set the film in a school?
Yes, and also. One of the other reasons is the parallel I was trying to show with the other character, right? Which is why I never showed Banu or Arvind's childhood, because I wanted to equate that, still there are so many things that haven't changed, and that is why the other character is designed like that. Also, the superficial acceptance of transgender people, that if they come and ask me for a job, I'm going to help them because I'm a very generous person, kind of thing, works at probably our level, slightly mature people, etc., etc. I wanted to explore a little bit about what is going on in the younger minds. Now, they see one person that they otherwise respected as a teacher transitioning. They also see somebody amongst them who is going through similar journey, and how will the young minds react to something like that? What actually happens to that person because of this person? Does it create a positive impact? Does it create an adverse impact? Which is for you guys to see in the movie. But still, I want to explore these themes from a dramatic tension perspective as well. So I thought it gave me a lot of things to play with from a screenplay perspective, which is why I wanted to set it in a school. Yeah.
Okay. The whole point of the film is that everything, the change is on the surface level. How do you see things going forward?
Nothing, no change can happen overnight. But it is important for people like me to push the society to think about certain aspects that they would otherwise not discuss or think or debate. And I'm hoping once the movie goes out and it receives enough appreciation and acceptance from a decent community. I'm not expecting this to be like a blockbuster or anything, but I do think there are people who are in positions of power to actually see the movie, take at least something from the movie in terms of how do you actually support a trans person when they work? How do you support a younger mind? What do you actually, how do you actually deal with somebody like that? Etc. etc. I want that debate to be kickstarted. At least some people a little bit more engaged than before, so that this movie kind of gives them that push to go ahead and have this conversation. We're even trying to see if we can, showcase the movie to government schools, in Tamil Nadu, and private schools as well, especially for adolescent, children, like maybe after anybody aged about 12 or so. So we can create a healthy discussion amongst them. Whether a solution comes out of it or not, whether things change or not, it is for anyone to see, because anybody's guess is as good as mine. So I don't think matters happen, in a matter of a very short time. However, if nobody is pushing, nothing is going to happen, right?
So there is a character in the film who jokes about a number of letters added to the acronym LGBT. If the same scene was in some other film, it would create a lot of debate. I'm just wondering, what is political correctness to you?
So in that movie, we are not showing that person as a proper, discerning, supportive adult. We are showing him as a particularly grey character whose how do I say, focus is more on something else than helping this person get a decent atmosphere to work in. Given the context in the movie, given the kind of person he is, what he says is okay. Nobody is saying that is right. We are again want to reiterate the fact that his understanding is also, despite having gone outside of India, despite claiming to be a progressive or a person who has a better understanding compared to the other characters that are portrayed in the movie, his understanding, his behavior towards people, LGBTQ people, trans people, is like that. So it's actually a commentary on corporates who want to put a kind of a face that they are like, I'm going to help, I'm going to do this, and during just the Pride month they put banners and this and that, but on the ground level nothing really changes. He is an embodiment of all that superficiality and just on the face, just for face value kind of stuff that people do. In that context, I think that is okay. I'm waiting for somebody to comment on that, and let me see if people get the same understanding as I intended to. However, no product will create the same impact to every single person around. For example, even in this case, my rejection of the word Tirunangai or the third gender could be a big problem to the transgender community themselves, because the reason why I say that is different from the constitutional reason such a category exists, right? And I acknowledge the existence of the categorization. I acknowledge the need for it in certain circumstances. It's just that in the movie, what I wanted to convey is I am personally not interested in such a tag. That is all I wanted to convey, right? But I'm expecting, again, such debates to come up. I'm expecting me to be part of these debates, and we can constructively take the movement further, right? That is all I hope for.
Okay. Thank you. Where do you go from here after Neela?
San Francisco?
No.
No. So I intend to continue exploring opportunities as an actor, as a filmmaker. In fact, I pitched my next script to a producer, and if things work out, I'll probably be doing another movie within the next couple of years. Because, as I said, writing is very important. It takes a lot of time to write something solid. So hopefully that works out. If my next movie becomes a decent success, there is a high probability I'll quit my job in the
Wow.
US and come back. Again, it's all wishful thinking at the moment. But I really do hope that there is space and opportunity for anyone's voice to be heard. And I hope the media industry, the movie industry, and generally folk, accept my voice too.
All the best.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity.